Welcome to the Informed Pregnancy and Parenting Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Elliot Berlin, and our co-host today is Juliet Lamar. Welcome back.
Hello.
Good to have you again.
Yes, great to be here.
Our guest in the studio is an Aussie. She's an actress who you might recognize from the wildly successful indie feature 47 Meters Down, or from cult vampire favorites, The Vampire Diaries and the originals, and a ton of other wide-ranging media. She has a bunch of stuff currently in production and due out soon, including her first baby.
Yes.
Claire Holt, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
Did I say that right?
Rhiannon.
Oh,
I knew
It's
it was
Welsh.
I'm going to have to... It's Welsh?
Yeah.
We looked it up, and we were going back and forth whether it was Rhiannon or Rhiannon.
It's a very weird name, and
It's beautiful, though.
yeah, it's nice. I'm thankful that my mother gave it to me as my middle name, not my
your
first
first.
name.
Do you use it ever?
No.
Yeah, well, we'll cross it out. There's this website where you can type in names that you don't know how to say, and it says them for you.
Oh, really? But in the weird computer voice.
No, it's
Rhiannon.
somebody's voice.
Rhiannon.
Oh, it is? Rhiannon.
Yeah, they're actually...
Well, you know what's funny? I think in Wales they pronounce it like Rhiannon or something weird like that. That was, I don't know
sounds
what
Welsh.
accent that
Okay,
was.
so you create a little controversy because I went to look it up because I wanted to be goofy and use your middle name, which
Right?
probably nobody
I
ever
know,
does.
it's fine.
Yeah, and then...
why I have it.
Hold on a second. Let me see if I can get it.
Rhiannon.
Oh, yeah.
Is that like-
Rhiannon.
Was
Yeah.
that right?
Yeah.
Rhiannon.
Rhiannon.
Okay. So, and then I looked at the comments, and half the people are like, that girl doesn't know how to pronounce, that's my name, and it's not pronounced that way. And
Oh,
other people are
really?
like, no, it's spot on.
I didn't know there was such controversy
There's a
over my middle
controversy.
name.
Reminds me of that dress. Is it gold or is it blue? You remember?
Oh,
Right.
that was
It's
annoying.
gold, obviously.
Rhiannon. So,
Clearly.
yeah, if you're listening, just write in. Do you hear Rhiannon or Rhiannon?
Yeah, let us know.
Rhiannon. Anyway, moving on. Okay, you're pretty cool. You were nominated for a Teen Choice Award. You almost played Supergirl in the Comeback series, and you're a black belt in Taekwondo. What don't we
Yes.
have in common is my question.
Right, that's what I asked myself.
I think people have a hard time telling us apart. Where does this all begin? You're a very unique person.
Thank you, I think.
No, in a good way. Powerful, unique person. Like looking at you, I'm like, how do I get my kids to grow up like Claire?
Oh, I love that.
So
Thank
now
you.
I gave them all the middle name Rhiannon.
Perfect.
Yeah,
That'll do it. That's the
my
only
first
thing you
step.
need.
Where do you come from?
I come from Brisbane, Australia,
Mm-hmm.
and I have been in the States for the last 10 years, but I grew up there until I was 20.
Brisbane. It's a capital of something?
Of Queensland, yes.
Right. How is that? What's it like?
It was amazing growing up there. We just played with sticks outside and rocks. And
It's like Fortnite for
right,
today.
Right,
I mean,
exactly.
here.
Perfect.
Sticks and rocks. That's what it looks like.
No,
you know?
I'm making it sound much
Did you have
worse than it
animals?
is.
It seems like a land kind of place.
Yeah, it is. It's a big city. It's a smaller version of Sydney or Melbourne.
Mm-hmm.
One of the major cities in Australia. But it was amazing. I mean, I'm one of 4, and we spent a lot of
Ooh,
time
which
outside.
one?
I'm number 2 of 4,
Oh, the first middle child.
the first middle child. Yes, I have many middle child problems.
You do?
I don't know, maybe.
My middle child has middle child problems.
Really?
Well, we have 2 middle childs, but the first middle child, she's turning out great. She has a chance of being like you, but it was hard at the beginning when she was the middle child. It was just like, my first son, I think we have like 10,000 pictures literally of his first year.
Amazing.
And for Dina, we had like 350. And then she found the hard drive that they were on, and like when she was a little toddler, and smashed it, and we couldn't recover it. We had nothing.
She
That's like
smashed it because there weren't 1,000 of her?
I guess she was
She
mad.
knew at an
She was
early
like,
age.
Bam, bam. We actually call her Bam Bam. She's very strong.
She's an overachiever. She could count.
Yeah,
That age.
That's why I highly recommend being an only child. No competition.
It's true.
So maybe you guys just do that.
So we've had to like Photoshop her into pictures and have family like anybody.
We have that technology. It's great.
Yeah, if not, we'd be totally screwed.
I was just told we don't care about you that much.
That's what it is.
I'm kidding. No, we're all quite close in age, so I never really sort of felt. I don't know. I didn't struggle being a middle child. My older sister is one of the brightest minds on the planet and is a definite overachiever and a wonderful human. So I
Does
felt
she have
like
a middle name?
Elizabeth.
What?
Yes,
Is
Rachel
that Welsh?
Elizabeth. Don't know where does Elizabeth
British.
come from? British,
Probably
maybe.
British.
It's very regal, of course,
Oh,
like
like the
her.
Queen. Yeah.
So I felt a little bit like I was always trying to keep up, but I had a very blessed childhood. I was very lucky. I grew up playing a lot of sports, and I had wonderful friends, and Australia is a beautiful country to raise children. So, and I'm from a very, very big family. My dad is one of 10, so I have 45 first cousins.
Oh
there
my
may be
God.
more now.
Whoa.
Yeah. So we all kind of grew up. Well, the first chunk of us all grew up together, and our family holidays were big camping trips with enormous tent cities, and
That sounds
it
so
was
nice.
awesome. It was a really, really
I come
great
from a really
place.
big family, but there's not a lot of us. We're just big. It's a
It's
different
not such
story.
a bad thing.
Oh, well. So, what kind of sports?
So I did Taekwondo, martial arts.
Starting
growing
at
up.
what age?
I started when I was 13, I believe.
Because you wanted to, or it was just...
So my parents wanted my brother to learn martial arts, and he was quite an anxious kid, and he didn't want to go by himself. So I went with him, and I loved it. I loved it.
And you worked all the way through it.
Did he drop out or he stayed?
No, he stayed with me.
Okay.
I was thinking after the podcast, I'll walk you out, but more for you to protect me.
It's true. I don't know if I've still got it. It's been a while, and especially not right now.
This
I
would
don't
be
know if
a-
I could throw those kicks.
This would be
I don't know, that
an
mama
amazing
strength
story.
might kick in.
Could you imagine my pelvis just frozen? Lucky you're here.
Yeah, I can free that up for you.
You can fix it.
After you protect me from the would-be robber.
Yeah, I loved that. And then, I did a lot of swimming growing up, as many Australians do, and every kind of sort of sport I could.
Swimming for fun or swimming for competition?
Both.
Are you competitive by nature
Yes.
since early age?
I think so, yes. More so as I got into sort of my teen years, but I'm quite competitive.
When you're competitive and you don't win, what does that feel like?
So the very first time I lost in a Taekwondo competition, because I used to spar, it was heartbreaking for me. And I didn't know how to deal with it. I didn't have the skills to deal with loss because I hadn't lost before. Now I'm great at it. I lose all the time.
Yeah.
I lose out on
yeah.
every job I want. No.
I can teach you.
You can. I'm much better at dealing with it. But at the time, it took a while to develop those skills.
Yeah, and is everybody in your family competitive? Where does that come from?
Yes. So I think it comes from my dad. There's 8 boys and 2 girls. So the boys were, they're all triathletes or marathon runners, or my father does Ironman races. And
Still does?
yeah,
Wow.
he's amazing.
I'm like tinfoil man. It's totally different.
I think it's
Sponsored
smarter.
by Reynolds.
Honestly, I don't know why he does it to himself. So they've always been super competitive, and I think it kind of trickled down
It like rubbed off.
Yeah.
to us.
Everyone, all 4?
No, you know what? Just my older sister and I. My youngest brother is not competitive, and the youngest, my little sister, she marches to the beat of her own drum. She doesn't mind at all what is going on around her.
See, that's my 3rd also.
Really?
And my 4th, by the way. He is the laziest in the family.
Really?
And he knows it. He doesn't care. He'll never learn
embraces the role.
I think he'll be 35 and never learn to tie his shoes. Right now it's like, Mommy, tie my shoes. If she says no, then Daddy. Then he goes through all the kids.
Clever.
Every other
clever.
kid, he's very smart. He's really smart. He's like me in this way. He is a little competitive, but extremely lazy. Like, that's my MO.
Right, well.
So, like, if I have to compete, I like when Words with Friends, my mother wanted to play Words with, she's like, come play Words with Friends with me. It'll build your skills. And I wanted to play, but I don't have time. I'm not that competitive. So I just thought, I don't even know what made me do it. I typed Word with Friends cheat. And there's an app where you put in what's on the
there
board and you put in what letters you have. And
I've never heard of someone cheat.
Yeah, it gives you the best words. And you actually have to tell it. Do you want extremely hard, medium?
Do you want people to think you're really smart?
Well, no, because if I would use these words
Then they would know.
Chinhua, I'm like, she'll be like, use Chinhua in a sentence. I'm like,
That's
I
amazing.
don't know. I hurt my Chinhua.
That is amazing.
So I had to use like the medium one, and then I felt really guilty, so I ended up
told
having
her?
to tell her. Yeah,
He came clean.
Whoever made that app is making so much money.
probably.
Yeah.
Are there apps to cheat on other games?
I don't know. Now I
Probably.
want to know.
There must be. There
I'm going
must
to go
be.
down a hole.
Yeah,
tonight.
this is
What
tonight's
can
activity.
I cheat on tomorrow?
So he's like me. He's competitive but lazy. So when he was playing, he's like 7 years old, and he was playing baseball. I saw him last season. The moment it happened, I saw it go off a giant light bulb in his head. He realized that at his age, the kids they don't have the dexterity to throw accurately or catch accurately. So as long as he hits the ball anywhere, all he has to do is run to the bases, not even look at the ball, listen to the coaches at all. He's probably going to be safe at every base and get a home run. He had like 9 home runs and 1 out. They got lucky.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So star player.
That's what he
Yeah.
is. Smarter. Work smarter. That's the 4th one, I think.
Really?
Lazy competitive. Yeah.
he's going to do well in life, I think.
Yeah,
He's
yeah.
going to figure out all the hacks.
It's so interesting to
so.
see the different ways people are competitive. Like,
Right.
so I did competitive gymnastics my whole life and did it in college and like national champion. And
Wow.
I was never competitive with my other people. I would come in with like an ego of I am the best
Your
because I
own-
was like,
right.
but I was never, if I saw someone do something, I was like, oh, I hope she doesn't fall. I wouldn't say that stuff, or I wouldn't think, oh, I have to beat her. I would just say, okay, this is what I have to do in order to beat myself.
Stay in your own lane.
Yeah, yeah. And it was like all just so encapsulated within me. Mm-hmm. But it's different, I think, when you do a sport like sparring. You
Right.
literally have to beat the other
Yeah,
person.
you can't really stay in your own lane there.
Yeah.
Got to get right in their lane.
Yeah.
Needless to say, I didn't do that competitively for too
Okay,
long. I got
good.
to the point where I was like, do I really need to be beating up other people
Yeah.
as a hobby? Probably not. You know, the interesting thing about Taekwondo, and I had this beautiful, amazing coach and it was such a great thing, and I absolutely hope that my son will learn martial arts at some point, because it was an amazing thing for me growing up. But what they taught us constantly was do not fight. Walk away at every chance that you get. If someone comes and asks you for your wallet, give it to them. Someone tries to steal your watch, you give them your watch. Do not fight. Only use this if it's life and death and you absolutely have to. But it gives you this confidence when you walk around, like, I can walk down the street and I don't think someone's going to mess with me. I know that I'm going to give them what they want and I'm not going to fight, but you look people in the eye and you walk with a certain posture that I think makes people think twice about targeting you as a victim. And that
That's
was
really
an amazing
interesting,
thing.
yeah. By the way, can I have your wallet?
I guess. I don't know how much is in there right now.
And that's so important as a woman too, like when you're
Right.
walking around, and I think that that's something people can pick up on. So yeah, that our confidence really can go into any part of your life.
Right. I think it's been so useful, and I'm very grateful that my little brother didn't want to go on his own. And I came with him.
When did you get into acting? How did that come about?
So it actually came about because I was a swimmer. I was doing television commercials to make some extra money.
What does that mean? How do you just end up doing television commercials?
Well,
were you in
at
high
first
school?
I
Were
was a
you- where
medical
were you?
typist for my father, and he was paying me $5 an hour.
This is when in life?
This is like maybe 14, 15.
Okay.
And
So high school.
High school. And I was like, there's got to be a better way to make money than this. This sucks. I can't even buy my lunch. $5 isn't going to get me far.
And it's boring.
I've got to think of something else. So I did this, I rolled in this screen acting course just for fun. And as a part of it, they suggested at the end, hey, why don't you do television commercials? You seem like you would have fun with it and you would like it. And so I gave it a try and I did a couple. And then this...
What are the commercials for?
I did Sizzlers.
Oh,
The
in
Sizzlers out here,
Australia?
right?
Yeah. They're dying out here, but they're
Right.
Not
I thought it
Outback?
was no, not Outback. No, but it was the dream job for me because I ate cheese bread and drank pink lemonade all day long.
Wait a second. Maybe I could do commercials.
It was awesome. I thought I was killing it. I made a couple $100. I was like, I'm rich. And then
That's a lot of medical typing.
and full.
Right, it's true. And much easier than that. I didn't even have to think. And so the commercial agent I had at the time said, look, I know you're a swimmer and I know you play water polo, and we have this audition for a series to play mermaid.
Oh.
And they need someone who can swim. And I didn't really have any acting experience at the time. Aside from, I'm so out of breath, pregnancy. Aside from the fact that I had failed 9th grade drama. That was my
That you always have a
claim
good
to fame.
indicator.
Claim to fame. And so I said, sure, yeah, I'll go try. So I made it through the acting rounds by the, skin of my teeth. And then we got to the swimming round and they said, okay, we just want you to swim. It was a 50-meter Olympic pool. I said, swim as far as you can underwater. I swam the entire length of the pool underwater. And I came up and I think I had the job.
Yeah.
I don't think
Wow.
they cared about, whether they were like, we can teach you how to act. But it's pretty hard to teach someone how to swim like that.
Yeah.
So I got the job and it was amazing because it was such incredible training for me. I had myself and the other 2 girls who were on the show with me. We had no idea what we were doing at all.
You're all swimmers.
They kind of learned along the way, but they were more actors. And
And you're more swimmer, and it just kind
right,
of came
yeah,
together.
so it merged.
It merged and submerged.
And so it was great. And, it ended up being a show that is still on Netflix today. And
really?
yeah, I shot it when I was 16.
Wow.
I'm
so
30
cool.
now. Don't tell anyone.
I won't.
Edit that part out.
And so it's been amazing, and it was the way I got my start in acting. And I realized I had always planned on going to university, and I really wanted to get my education. And this was just a way for me to save money. So I started filming the show in the 12th grade, and I would work 12-hour days or whatever, and then I would go home and I would study for 4 hours at night and make sure I did all my schoolwork, and then I would sleep a few hours and I would get up and I would go to work again. So it was really tough, but I just thought, I'm going to put this money in the bank and then I can go to college and I won't have to worry about it. And then I found out that I really loved it and I wanted to keep doing it. And people go to college to get a job, and I already had one, so
Yeah.
That's true. So you didn't go?
No, I never went.
There you have it, kids. Drop on out.
Still time.
What? Oh, you still might go? Why?
I don't know. I think about that all the time.
Yeah, why not?
What would you want to do? Study?
I look into... I was actually going to do it last year, and then I ended up going to China to do a film, but I'd love to go and do the UCLA summer series. They have classes on neuroscience and psychology and just things that are interesting that, I'm obviously never going to get a job in. No one's going to hire me as a
maybe you can walk into a
neuroscientist.
hospital and just say, hey, I'm not really good at neuroscience, but I'm a great swimmer. Maybe I can get a staff job here.
I'm sure.
Yeah, I'll pick up the doctor stuff along the way.
Right. I'll start as an orderly. I'll work my way up. It was great.
Where did your acting career go from Mermaid?
So I did 2 seasons of that show, and then...
What's it called?
It's called H2O.
Oh, H2O. How appropriate.
Yep, very appropriate. It's actually H2O, just add water, which doesn't really make sense because it's water, just add water.
Right.
So I just leave that part out.
Stephen Wright? Do you know Stephen Wright? That's a joke. I bought powdered water, but I didn't know what to add.
Amazing.
There you have it.
There you have it. So I came out to the States and I was completely delusional. And I thought, because this was the first acting job I'd ever auditioned for, I thought they were all like that. And you just got whatever you...
Just hop in the pool and swim.
Yeah, you just got the job. And so I came out here and I had a rude awakening and realized it didn't quite work like that. Mm-hmm. And
Did you come straight to Los Angeles?
came straight to LA.
I mean, it's the first island you come to,
Right.
Yeah.
really, from your part of the world.
Right.
Was it
And-
weird getting used to seasons and time being the opposite?
Yeah, it was different. It was different. I was still young and naive enough to just be a little reckless and not care about where the huge change that was taking place in my life and the real gravity of what I was doing at 20 years old. Because I didn't have any friends. I didn't know anyone. I had a suitcase and I had no idea how I was really going to live or make money. I just figured that I would
that
work it
sounds
out.
like me at 44.
I think you're doing pretty well.
No, I have one friend. It's on Facebook, but whatever.
So it was difficult sort of for that first year because, needless to say, it didn't work the way I thought it did. And I had to audition and I got a lot of no's. I think actually I did 144 auditions before I got my first job out.
Really?
And that was at a time where, it was constant and it was different than it is now. Getting auditions, you can just send self-tapes in now. But you used to have to go every day and...
Yep.
It was really tough. And there were times where I thought, oh, gosh, what am I doing? I made a terrible mistake. I need to just go back.
Learn how to type.
Learn how to type. Go to college. I tried. And then I got my first little job. And then I got another one, a guest starring a couple episodes on this. And then a year and a half into my time here, maybe 2 years, that was when I booked The Vampire Diaries.
Ah.
Which at the time was just a 3-episode guest star. And I just figured I'd go to Atlanta for a couple of episodes and it would be great. And, I was just working my way up and trying to figure it out. And it turned into 7 years.
No
So
kidding.
it was really awesome. But it was difficult to get there, for sure.
Well, that's your persistence. Yeah. During that time, are you doing acting classes and
I'm
workshops,
working with coaches and also, I didn't really I couldn't work because I didn't have a green card at that point. I was just on a visa. So I was, living by the skin of my teeth on, eating omelets and cereal. And, I think there was a point where I maybe got to $100 in my bag. I had an old Volvo that, rattled when I drove. Whoa. And the key didn't really work. And you'd have to, rig it to get into the car. Thankfully, I had a black belt in Taekwondo. So on a street at night, I wasn't too worried. But it was hard. I really got very close to not being able to stay.
So what kept you here, staying?
That competitive nature, I believe.
Yeah, I think so.
And I remember there was one time I was sitting on a bus stop. I was 21, just turned 21, and it was on Sunset Boulevard, and I was just bawling my eyes out on the bus stop. And I just thought, what am I doing? I've made this huge mistake. I got to go home. I can't keep doing this. And then something inside of me was like, you know what? You can't quit.
Yep.
You just got to pick yourself up, dust off your knees, keep going. And really soon after that was when thankfully I started working, and up until now it's been a pretty steady stream.
You know, I always think of auditioning as like door-to-door vacuum salesman.
Totally.
Like you have to knock on 100 doors or 150 doors and get them slammed in your face, and still dust yourself off, pick yourself up, go to the next door as if this is going to be the sale.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And give it your A game, and then it gets slammed on your face and do it again. And then 150 times later or 75 times later, you sell a vacuum.
Yeah, and you got to try not to get bitter in
Yeah.
that time period, or resentful, or lose your passion for it, or the spark, or whatever excited you in the first place, which can be difficult.
Yeah, what is it that you like? Because you seem to be passionate about acting, like you really like acting, not just the gig of it, but...
Yeah, you know, I've thought many times, how do I explain it? Because I'm not really sure. And I come from a very academic family. And it's difficult to explain this thing that comes over me. But it's like a fire, like a warmth inside of me when I'm doing it. And I feel energized and invigorated. And like when I go home at the end of the day, I go to sleep smiling. And I don't know what that is other than passion. And I don't know where it comes from. But I do know that when I'm not doing it, I really miss it.
Oh. Have you done theater as well?
I actually haven't, and I'm incredibly in awe of theatrical actors and actresses, because I think that that's far more difficult than television or film.
That's
and
interesting.
It's, you know, you do it every day, day and night, and you have to bring that same level of energy and performance every time, and you know you can't mess up, and so I think it's much more difficult than.
Well, you can. You just
Yeah,
have
There's
to
so
have
many.
it.
There's so many
They
unknowns.
just can't
right?
know that, Eva. Because I was a
Right.
drama major in college.
Oh wow,
Yeah,
amazing!
But theater only. And when you were talking about loving to do it and having that fire in your belly and just the passion, I loved it.
You did.
But there was the audience, and it was instant. Even though you put a lot of work into getting ready for a
Right.
show, like in the show, you see the feedback right there in front of you. It's instant. And
Right.
there is that live theater kind of, stuff goes wrong all the time. And it's just how do you recover from it without anybody knowing that something went
Which
awfully
is
wrong?
incredible skill.
But
in
also
and
part
itself.
of the wonderfulness of theater as well is are you so prepared and do you have enough guts to recover in a way that keeps the story going?
Exactly, and then you don't lose it for the rest of the performance.
For the rest of the performance.
And get in your head.
Yeah.
Oh, I never forget playing a drunk Santa Claus. And there's this big moment where I'm center stage and there's 5 steps and there's thunder and lightning, crashing thunder and lightning. And I fall onto my butt and bounce down those 5 steps and land on the floor like I'm having a heart attack. Very dramatic. And I practiced it so many times how to do it without injuring myself.
Right.
Again and again. I got really good at it, right? And then the sound guy, right before that cue, somebody leaves and the door closes behind him, but there's no real door. So there's just a little click for the door closing. The sound guy forgot to do the click. So I'm standing center stage and I'm ready for my big moment. And instead of thunder, there's a click, but I don't realize that it's just a click. So I start bouncing down, clutching my chest. And all of a sudden I'm like, oh my God, that was just a click. And I'm laying there clutching. And then all of a sudden the thunder comes and I have to outdo that. But that's part of live theater.
Yeah, yeah.
But you nailed it.
The worst one that I had was my dress split in the middle of a scene.
Oh, no.
So it was like a 6-person show. So you're constantly on stage. I had like 2 exits the entire play. And we just did this scene. We're like panging on things and then like come up and my dress just rips below my butt, like all the way down. And I'm like, oh, I feel it. I'm still on stage for like another 10 minutes. I have to tell
man.
and figure out how. And I'm acting weird. My blocking's all off because I'm like trying just not
blocking.
to turn
You
You
That
could
around.
have
gives
just
a-
showed the audience.
Exactly.
You would have
Yeah.
got a rave
Showed
review.
it.
Yeah, the next night, filled
Everyone
people
would have
out
been
the
in
door,
there.
scalping tipping.
It was crazy, but yeah, I had to kind of signal, and I kind of went over to my co-star, and I was like, and kind of put her hand there, and then she was like, oh. And so we put the whole thing, but we had to do it all, and you have to
wow.
rely on your co-stars at that time to save your butt, literally.
Literally. In your
Literally.
case.
Literally. That's a lot more difficult
Yeah,
than what
or
I do.
somebody skips like 5 pages of dialogue.
Yeah. And you look at them, and you're like,
You guys are not selling theatre to me.
oh no, but that's part of the that's
why we do
Right,
it.
the rush of it.
the
I guess.
rush.
You're
Yeah,
right.
it's the improv of it.
I would much rather do TV and film because they can cut, you mess up, it's okay.
Right, you can go have a snack. It's fine.
Yeah,
you
you're
know.
sick, you voice it over later, like whatever.
It's true.
All right. Well, now you're all prego.
I am all prego.
And there's a lot to talk about there, but we're going to
Yeah.
take a very quick break, and we're going to come back, and we're going to talk to Claire Rhiannon.
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 We're going to talk
It's
to
going to
Claire
be one of those things that you're going to say
Rhiannon.
wrong for the rest of your life now.
I want to get it right. It's like Anne. You're Anne.
Rhiannon.
Claire Rhiannon.
Rhiannon.
It's just Anne for short.
Yeah.
Claire and Holt. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Informed Pregnancy Podcast. We're back with co-host Juliet and our guest, Claire Ann Holt.
Claire Ann. My mom's name is Anne, actually.
Really?
Yeah.
Maybe. Do you think that's why she named you Rhiannon?
I think she liked the song. Is there
Is there a song?
Rhiannon.
Not that
Not that
one. No, but I like that. I'm going to use that now.
Yeah.
I was going to say that's what I'm named
one.
after.
That's
exactly.
going to be in my head for at least
you're
2 days
welcome.
now.
You're
Thank you.
I know, me too.
So, Claire, I can't help but notice your bump.
Yes, it's there.
It's there. Not quite as big as my bump, but we'll get back into that at some other
Do you want
point.
to compete and measure?
I would not compete with you because I know I'll lose.
You will.
It's not worth it. I'll get my little son to compete with you, though.
I'd love that.
He'll figure out a smart way to get a bigger bump. So, pregnancy. First of all, how did you meet your partner?
We got set up through a mutual friend, a guy friend of mine, actually, and I was not looking for a relationship at the time. But he said to me, look, just come out and have a drink. I know you can stay for one drink and go home. And I was miserable and cranky and didn't want to go out. And I agreed to, because he'd been such a good friend to me, I'd go out for one drink. And thank God I did, because I met my lovely husband. And it was very immediate. I mean, not so maybe the first week. I was still a little standoffish.
It wasn't like halfway through your drink.
No, it wasn't halfway through the drink. It was halfway through the 5th drink, probably.
Oh, okay.
No.
So later that night.
No, so within, a month, we sort of knew that was that.
What?
And
What
we-
about it? What makes you so sure? Was there a fire in your belly?
It was like the fire I get when I'm at work. It's
Wow.
very interesting. It was for both of us, I think, just an immediate connection and a soul connection, and something that was really beautiful and special. And I feel so lucky that I went for that drink that night.
Wow.
I can't believe that I nearly stayed home.
I'm going to not turn down drink offers anymore.
Ever
My
again.
mum has a saying, and she said it to me ever since I was a kid, and it's get up, dress up, show up. And you can go home if you want, but you just got to show up. And so I always used to say that to myself whenever I didn't want to do something, I didn't want to go to an audition, I didn't want to try something new, put myself out there, go out for a drink, go to this dinner. I was always like, okay, I just have to go, and if I'm having a bad time, I can go home. And so that's, been my motto throughout my life, and
But those
served
are
me
really
well.
powerful little snippets that your parents put into you.
Yeah,
Because I heard one also from your dad, which
Yep.
is, did you tell me? Or
Yeah, maybe my sister.
Could
Pain
be.
is weakness
Pain
leaving
is
the body.
weakness leaving your body.
Oh, I love that one. I've heard that before. Yes.
Yeah, those are really powerful when you need to do something and that you don't really want to do and get through something that seems uncomfortable or undoable.
It's great. You just repeat it to yourself over and over.
Do you have one for your birth?
I think that's going to be
Pain is baby leaving the body.
Are you going to name the
I
baby?
don't know if I want to refer to him as weakness, though.
Yeah, I
No,
know.
but it's baby leaving the body, not weakness.
Right.
That's his name.
So I don't know.
Weakness has
have
left
to-
the body.
Oh, poor little guy.
Aw.
When did you start thinking kids?
Really quickly, which is not like me at all.
Sixth drink?
No, we sort of started talking about it maybe within 2 months of being together.
Wow.
Yeah,
You
very.
guys move really fast.
Yeah, we
You
did.
really wanted a fire in that belly.
Yeah, and it's really funny because he said something to me the other day that was so beautiful, and he's so excited about this baby, and he just said to me, I think I was born to be a dad. And it was so special to me, and I know that he's felt that way for a long time, and he will be the most incredible father. But he was on board. He was so excited about it, and so very early on we decided, and I guess it could have gone terribly, but thankfully it's been a beautiful, wonderful experience. I couldn't imagine doing it with another partner.
Had you thought previously about motherhood?
Not so much.
No.
I knew I wanted to have children. And I knew that hopefully one day that would happen to me, but I had always been so career-driven that I thought that it would happen later in life for me. And I didn't think a lot about my fertility. And so I just thought, I'll just do it when I'm, if I start at 35, that's the age.
That's the
that
deadline,
they say,
right?
Yeah. Just by the time I'm 35, it'll be fine.
It's industry standard, really.
Right.
It is really industry standard.
Right. So I hadn't thought so much about it. And then it just felt really right and really natural. And it was this immediate, knowing, I think.
Did it take long to get pregnant?
So I came off birth control at the time, very early. And then it took me a long time to get my period. So I'd been on it for 13 years, and I didn't get my period for probably 6 months.
Oh, wow. Was that frustrating to you?
Yeah, it was, because it was something I couldn't control, and I'm very type A, and I like to be in control of things. So it was very frustrating to me because there was nothing I could do. I felt like I was doing everything I could. I was having the acupuncture, and I was changing my diet and trying to do all the things that they tell you that, naturally regulate women's cycles. But it just didn't happen for me. And then when it did finally come, and it ended up coming because I did something called a progesterone challenge, which is where you take a course of progesterone and then you come off it, and the withdrawal should trigger a period. When it did finally come, I got pregnant the second cycle. So
wow.
Okay, first of all, there's probably nobody ever happier in their life to see their period start.
Yeah, I was
than you at
thrilled.
that moment.
I was thrilled.
Yes!
I was really thrilled.
It's here.
And that second cycle, we were beside ourselves. We were so thrilled. And it was just
How'd you find out?
I had started to feel a little sick. I remember going to pick my husband up from the airport, and I pulled over and the side of the road and puked.
Oh, wow.
And it was 3 days before my period was due or something. And I was like, this feels a little early, but that's strange. I don't normally do that. And I was feeling nauseous for a couple of days. And then I started to see these ads on TV, which I'd never seen before, for pregnancy tests.
They've always been there.
Is this a sign? I don't know what this is. Anyway, so finally, I bit the bullet, and there were people downstairs. I don't know why I decided to take the test when people were over. But I did, and, it was positive straight away. And so I called my husband up, and he was just so excited, and we were both crying and thrilled and couldn't believe it and didn't really know what to do next and what we were supposed to do. And it was very, foreign to the both of us, but it was amazing. And so for the next few weeks, I think we had our first doctor's appointment around 6 weeks, and we got a heartbeat. And there was no reason to think that anything was going to go wrong, and it was really healthy, and, we were thrilled and excited. And I didn't feel terrible. I felt a little nauseous, but I didn't really have typical first trimester symptoms at that point. And then a couple of weeks later, my gynecologist at the time didn't deliver babies, so I was looking for another doctor. And we went to another doctor a couple of weeks later at 8 weeks, and he said to me, the baby's measuring small, don't put her on Facebook.
Whoa.
And, it was just so shocking to us because I had no idea what that meant. Is that okay? Do some babies measure small? What do you mean don't put it on Facebook? Do you mean just wait because everyone should wait? Or is there a problem? Does this mean something? What's the heart rate? And, the tech was well, it's there, but it's low. But they didn't really tell us anything.
Oh, really? And did you have those questions in the moment, or they were
I think both of us were just so shocked and confused because we had no reason to believe that something was going wrong. I had no bleeding. I had no cramping. I'd had a heartbeat a couple of weeks before with my gynecologist. So we were just confused. So the doctor said, well, I'm going to draw some blood and we'll see where we're at. And, maybe you can come back in 2 weeks or whatever. It's 2 weeks. I'm good. What? That's too long. I can't possibly wait that long. Can I? He goes, well, you can come back in a week if you want. So.
Wow, so touching.
Yeah. So we went outside and I took the blood, and that was actually a really horrific weekend. And it was a Friday that happened. And I would almost say that was equally as hard as what we went through after, because it was the first time that we ever really thought that something may not go right. It was actually this time last year. It was Super Bowl weekend.
Oh,
yeah.
wow.
So for that weekend, I just remember feeling this sense of oh my God, what have I done? Have I done something? Was this my fault? Should I not have gone running? Should I not have exercised? Did I eat something bad? Was it because I wore perfume? Is it because I had a glass of wine 2 days before I found out I was pregnant? I've done something. And so I really had to focus on getting out of that place and just trying to hope that things would be okay. And then the next week, I went back to the gynecologist, who doesn't deliver babies, but is just a beautiful, beautiful woman, and said, just come back in, we'll check again, let me check and make sure. There was still a heartbeat. she said, look, it's a little bit small, but this happens. Sometimes we get the dates wrong, just don't give up hope, just hang in there. So 2 weeks after that, then we got to 11 weeks and we went in for what would be the genetic blood test. And I don't know if maybe she had an idea that because it was measuring small, she should do another ultrasound, because I don't know if it's common to get that many ultrasounds. And it was my husband's birthday, sadly. And we went in and immediately there was no flicker, and I saw it straight away.
Oh, wow.
And I knew to look for that flicker of that heartbeat, and it wasn't there. And the first thing I said was, where's the flicker? Where's the heartbeat? She said, it's okay. Maybe I just have the wand in the wrong place. Sometimes this happens. Of course, after looking for another few minutes, there was no heartbeat. And I said, I want to hear it. I need to know it's not there. And she goes, are you sure that you want to do that? And I was like, yes, I need you to turn the sound on. So she turned the sound on, and obviously there was no sound. And it was devastating. I think it was the hardest thing I've ever dealt with in my life. And I've I had people close to me pass away, which is horrific. But this was something that it felt like that times 10 with the guilt of I couldn't do this.
Being your fault.
Mm-hmm. And so my husband was just so beautiful. And I can't believe I booked the appointment on his birthday. That was just like such a douche move on my part. But
only in retrospect. I mean,
yeah,
right.
Yeah, you didn't know.
Well, I thought it was going to be a nice, treat to see the baby. But anyway, so we went home and we both cried. And my family actually happened to be in town for my sister's wedding celebration. So my mum was there and my dad was there and my siblings were there. So a lot of people were around, and
So did they all know you were pregnant?
They knew I was pregnant, yes. I told I can't keep a secret.
Yeah.
No.
So I can if it's important. I couldn't keep that secret. So they knew I was pregnant, and they were all there when, we told everyone.
So that's a little different because a lot of people don't tell anybody,
Right.
and then they're totally alone.
Right.
I mean, was it helpful to you to have support
Yes, and
around
that's
you?
something I'm so passionate about now. I don't understand why you would have to suffer through that alone. And I understand some people have, personal preferences and they like privacy and they don't like to talk about things, and maybe it's better for them to cope if you don't share. But it feels really sad to me that we would have to get to this point in a pregnancy, God forbid something did happen, then no one has to know about it. Mm-hmm. Why can't we tell people when we're 6 weeks, 8 weeks, and share in the celebration and the excitement, and then have a shoulder to cry on when something doesn't go right,
Did you know anybody who had a miscarriage before that?
So I had a few friends who had them. My mum had actually had two, but she'd never talked about it in a way that it was incredibly traumatic. And I know in hindsight it really was for her, but she hadn't shared that with me. And the friends who had miscarriages hadn't really shared how traumatic it was with me. It had been like I knew about their pregnancies, they lost their pregnancies, and then I didn't know what to say. They didn't know what to do. That no one really talked about it. And it was something that at the beginning, I always knew I was going to share at some point, because I immediately went to the internet when I got home and I just started Googling. I had a miscarriage. Well, how do you cope? What do you do? Is it my fault? Skills. How do I get through this? How do I can't believe I've done this to my husband. He just wanted to be a dad, and I couldn't give him that. I was just desperate for a community. And I found just some amazing resources and some amazing women who were really open and vulnerable about it. And so I knew that at some point when I was ready, I didn't know when that was going to be, that I would share my story too. But, for the first sort of week to 10 days, it was just so dark for me. And I think probably 3 to 4 days afterwards, and I don't know if this has anything to do with the hormone drop or what happens, but I couldn't get out of bed. I couldn't. My husband sadly had to go away for a few days for a really important work trip, and I just wouldn't even answer his phone calls.
Wow.
And I just my family was still there, and I shut my bedroom door, and I couldn't come out, and I didn't know how to talk.
So strong.
Yeah. And then, it started every day, it would get a little bit better and a little bit better. But it was still really horrific to me. And then I think it was about 10 days after the miscarriage that I decided I was going to post something. And I sat down on my computer and the words came out of me. And I didn't really think about it. And it just was as if, I don't know where it came from or who it came from, but it felt like something that was very important.
We are going to take a quick commercial break. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Was that cathartic for you?
Yeah, really cathartic. But I was terrified about it. I was terrified to share it with so many people. I was terrified of feeling ashamed and that people would think it was my fault. I was terrified that people would think, oh, you haven't been with your husband long. I can't believe you got pregnant, or,
judgment.
crazy things that, no, and I found none of that.
Wow.
I found the most beautiful, incredible support system from everyone, from every walk of life, from women, from men. So many men reached out to me directly or in the comments, sharing their story and talking about what it meant to them and, how difficult it was for them to watch their partners or sisters or wives go through it. So many women. I think the post has over 40,000 comments.
Wow. Comments. I mean, you're you're very likable in general, and you're
Thank
real.
you.
You're very real.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, just speaking from, like, my eyes are welling up just hearing you talk about it. And, our first pregnancy ended in miscarriage also, but we didn't know anybody else who had one. We're like, why us? Like,
Yeah, that's what you feel like. Why me?
And then we just, this morning, someone walked into my office, and she's pregnant now, and midway through pregnancy, and we were talking during her intake, and she's like, yeah, but I had a miscarriage, and it wrecked me. And you could see her just stop for a second.
Yeah.
And so, I really appreciate we've had a few people come and talk about their experience, but most people don't. So I'm really grateful when you do. And you're just so genuine that I think even probably some internet trolls left positive feedback.
Thank you. Yeah, it's something that I think I've healed from because I shared and because I didn't feel alone. And that's one of the things that I think is so awful about going through something like that. If you don't share and if you don't have the knowledge and if you don't know how common it is, you feel really isolated.
Yeah.
And
you keep blaming yourself. I'm pretty sure
Right.
you should do 23andMe. There's probably at least 5% Jewish in there. It's a lot of self-guilt.
I do. I have like 1% Ashkenazi Jew.
I knew it.
I do. But yeah, there was a lot of that. And I think it's just such an important thing to talk about because after I did, I connected with so many women who had been through the same thing and who had found it equally devastating. And I think there's this misconception that because you never met the child, that you didn't feel connected to it or you didn't feel like a mother or or the loss wasn't as significant. And I just think that that's so far from the truth because it felt more significant to me than any loss in my life. And, that's not to underplay some of the losses I've had because I've had very amazing, incredible people pass away. But this to me just felt so much heavier and so much more difficult to manage.
It's a piece of you. It's like, this is your soul and heart and body. You're going into this thing. And then it,
and the second you become pregnant, I feel that you become a mother. And all of a sudden you go back and you're not one anymore.
I do sometimes, like now that you're pregnant, towards the end of a pregnancy, I sometimes wonder, in the introduction even, I was going to say she's expecting her first baby, but maybe you feel like it's your second baby.
I do. I say it's my first, but I do feel that way. And I also feel that we get the children that we're meant to have. And I feel that I wouldn't have met this little guy if that pregnancy had gone ahead, and there must be a reason for that. And, I found more of a spiritual outlook as I've gotten further away from it and more distance, and I've healed more. At the time, there was none of that. There was just anger and frustration. I didn't feel a sense of spirituality. I didn't feel connected to myself or anything greater than me. I was just mad. And through the healing process and allowing myself to grieve and connecting with other people and having time and distance and space, I've gotten to a place where I think, there was a reason that happened to me. And as awful as it was, I wouldn't change it. And it's really hard to say that because I don't mean that in a way that like I didn't want that baby or I didn't want that life. But I've learned so much, and I think that I now can hopefully help other people through this journey. And that's really important to me.
I sort of have a little flashback to interviewing Kat Von D on the podcast, and I asked her about her first tattoo, and it was a J for some guy whose name started with J. And she says, but now it stands for just kidding. And I was like, do you ever think about just taking it off, you know? And she's like, no, it's like my body is my canvas of my life. Every piece is important to me. It got me to where I am today.
Right.
And that's kind of what I hear you saying also about that experience. And where you are today is third trimester.
Third trimester, yes.
And okay, first of all, have you had any pregnancy cravings?
Bell peppers.
Really?
It's so weird.
Bell
I cannot
peppers.
get enough of red bell peppers. In fact, I ate 2 before I came here.
I ate one like an apple on the way here, actually, which is really weird.
You did?
Yeah.
I've never heard anyone eat
That's
it
like
like
the
an
Iron
apple.
Chef guy. He
I just
takes
sit there
that
eating
bell
it. I
pepper
was
and
driving
Well, now
eating
you're
it.
weird. I at least
she's pregnant.
And now she's like, oh my crap, my bread? No.
No, I cannot get enough of them.
Oh, they're
Get
good.
enough
They're
of
good.
vitamin
Raw,
C.
doesn't matter?
Raw. Has to be raw.
It has to be
Can't have
raw.
it cooked.
Just red or any color?
I've been going for the red. I'm sure I could tolerate the orange or yellow, but
Greens, though, like, no.
no, heck
No.
no.
Who even eats green peppers?
No one. They should get rid of them. They should be
Why
banned.
is how's pregnancy been for you compared to how you thought it would be?
You know, it's been such an interesting journey, and I think it is definitely because of my experience with the miscarriage. I had a very hard time connecting at the beginning, and I've been, I don't want to say crippled with anxiety because that's not fair, but I've really had to tackle a lot of anxiety through the process. You know, the first trimester I was really, really sick, which they say is a good sign, but I just kept thinking to myself, if I have to go through all this and then I lose this baby again, I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if I can do it again. And then, you know, I got to the genetic test and everything was okay. And then I got to 14 weeks and everything was okay. And I just had told myself, just got to get to that point and then I'll be fine and then I won't be anxious.
And then you can post on Facebook.
And then I can put it on Facebook. And then actually when I did post and share the news of my pregnancy, I got this overwhelming fear after the fact. Like,
Yeah, I would.
it's out there now and I can't take it back. And what if something happens? And, you know, so I got through that and then I got to the 20-week scan. And then I was like, I just need to get there. And then I can see that everything's okay. And I can see that his heart works and he's got 5 fingers. I hope he has 10.
On each hand.
On each hand. 10 fingers and 10 toes. And then I, of course, read some article somewhere and all of a sudden became terrified that he was going to have intrauterine growth disorder or whatever. Which is like not, why would I think that? So that was my thing. And then, you know, once I realized he did not have that and he was in fact a very large baby, you know, it became, sadly, stillbirth. And once I hit my third trimester, I started to worry about stillbirth. And what is the rate of stillbirth? And, you know, is there anything I can do to prevent it? And is it, I slept on my right side last night and they, you know, the studies say that, or I woke up on my back and the studies say that you can't do that. And this, you know.
And
so,
this is not really you.
No.
As this is like opposite Claire.
Yeah, it's really not me. And I've had to work very hard to get out of my head like that, to stay away from Dr. Google, because that's never a good idea.
I know. He's open 24 hours and speaks 72 languages. It's
Crazy.
horrible. Yeah.
He shouldn't be so available.
No. It's the only doctor that's available sometimes.
It's
though,
true.
so.
Yeah.
It's true. So I've really had to work hard to get out of my head and just be present in this journey. And, you know, I had a hard time connecting up until I'd say about 25 weeks. I tried to and I wanted to, but I just, you know, I didn't start the nursery till quite late because I was superstitious and I didn't want to have to unpack a nursery. You know, all these really sad, morbid things that, you know, the chances are it's never going to happen to me. And but I just have this experience and this fear that sort of simmers underneath everything.
I mean, Alyssa and I went through all those same
Yeah.
exact things in our pregnancy that led to our son. Even after that, even holding him didn't make it feel quite real yet.
Really?
We were still wondering, like, okay, he's here, but what's going to happen next? You know, I remember the first time he slept 5 hours straight. We woke up and we should have been the happiest people on the planet. And we both jumped out of bed and ran to his room.
Terrified.
Terrified. I was like, why? How come he didn't wake up and cry? And,
Yeah.
you know, after that, I think we started to let go a little bit.
You did?
Yeah.
I hope that's the case for me.
Yeah.
I can see myself
Few
still
months
at
in.
18. I haven't heard from you now. Where are you? What are you doing? Yeah, no, I can't let myself buy one of those like owlet socks or anything because if the alarm goes off, I'm gonna be
and
like,
they have a lot of false positives and false negatives.
right. I'm so it's.
I want the
it's-
owlet sock for me, though. I'm always
I know. I
gonna-
wouldn't mind it. Actually,
I want
it's
the
a great
adult
idea.
Owlet senior. Birth. What do you have in store for birth?
So right now he's head down, which I'm thrilled about. I would love to have a unmedicated vaginal delivery.
Whoa. You guys don't say vaginal?
Do we say vaginal?
I don't
I
know.
don't know, do you?
Probably. I've
Do you
been here
say-
long enough. I say some things like Americans now,
Oh.
and then other things I say like an Australian.
Okay.
Okay.
Like stupid, I've been saying a lot
Stupid.
instead of stupid.
Yeah. Oh.
I would love that. I don't know what's going to happen right now because my doctor is going on a mission to Guatemala to save babies. How dare she?
Yeah.
Shame.
Right over my due date.
Awful
So-
person.
It's on purpose.
So selfish, obviously.
I don't know. Maybe it's full circle, though.
Yeah, maybe. No, she's been so incredible throughout this journey and has been such an amazing tool for me because I have been so anxious. And, she very early on talked to me about her miscarriages and how she was very anxious too and how she was giving herself ultrasounds. And, yeah, and she was really open sharing that stuff with me. Yeah. So I feel very connected to her and I feel that I would really like her to deliver my baby. So that's something that, I have another 8 or so weeks to figure out.
Plus or minus.
Buy a
Plus
ticket
or
to
minus.
Guatemala.
Right. That's true. I didn't think of
Go
that.
to Guatemala.
There you go. Just show up at her door. I know you're a bit busy, but crowning.
Time for one more?
You're here for babies, right?
I went into this pregnancy thinking I'm definitely having an epidural. I'm come from a very medical family. My father's a doctor. My brother's a doctor. My mother was a nurse. My aunt's a pediatrician. My uncle's an orthopedic surgeon. And all of them are very pro pain medication if you need it. Mm-hmm. It's there for a reason. Take the pain meds. You got to break the pain cycle, whatever, when you have an injury or whatever. So I always thought, definitely going to have an epidural and I'm not going to feel anything and the baby's going to come out or maybe even I'll have a C-section, My mother had 4. She seems fine. She's very thrilled that everything's still intact down there. Yeah. So I'm sure that seems like an option too.
Yeah.
And then it was a conversation that I had with you, actually, one of our first appointments together where I was asking you questions about birth and labor and what's it like without medication and why would anyone do that and this, that, and the other. And you just really inspired me. Oh. And you made me feel like I could do it. And it was going to be a beautiful experience anyway that this baby came onto the planet. But there were some definite benefits to laboring naturally and being able to move around and being connected to the process. And so after our conversation, I went away and I did some more research like I do. Went down another Google hole.
Lots of Google.
And I realized, it's something that I wanted to try. I wanted to try and do it naturally. And many, many women before me have done it. And it's, animals in the wild do it all the time. They don't have an epidural. Yeah. And so my plan right now is to attempt that.
Try and picture where you'd put the elephant's epidural.
Yeah, where would it go?
I don't know.
On the top?
How do you get it in there?
Big
Sit like
needle.
a cat?
Yeah.
Could you imagine?
You're going to employ some monkeys to scamper up the back.
Don't move for 1 minute.
Just like a harpoon.
That's right.
Putting the thing in. Oh, yeah, that might work.
Yeah. Blow dart.
I'm excited about birth. As difficult as it's been for me to sort of get around pregnancy and the lack of control that I have over the situation, I'm excited about what's ahead. I know I'm going to have the challenges of not being able to control birth and not knowing how long it's going to go, which we talked about as well, and not knowing how long it's going to take me to dilate and what the process is going to be in letting go and surrendering. But I feel like it's going to be this beautiful connection with my husband and my baby and all the women that have gone before me and my mother, and it's just something that I'm so, so excited about.
And you have options.
Yeah.
Aiming for that is great, but
right.
you have options. Should you choose something else along the way, there's so many options around you.
Right. So I will see. I mean, maybe baby number 4, I'm going to be birthing in a tub somewhere. But
in Guatemala.
Baby number 4. I'm going to do that 4 times. There's no shot. I wanted 4 kids before I got pregnant. And then now that I've been through this pregnancy, as much as I love this little angel.
Well, you have to wait and see. When the new car scent wears off, you start to get thirsty for another
Do you
lease.
though?
Yeah.
Is that thing real where you forget?
Totally. I'm pretty sure that's why your brain shrinks, like where the mommy brain comes from.
Oh, really?
I think that's part of it. Otherwise, you just have like one kid and that's it.
I mean, it makes sense. I know someone who like wrote a list of everything she hated about being pregnant. So if
she
she ever wanted
remember?
to have a kid again, she would
Smart
just
lady.
read the list. Would remind
Refer
her.
to the list. Oh, that's funny.
Have you been acting during pregnancy?
I haven't, which has been a challenge for me because I have, ever since those 144 auditions and then my first job, I've been working, thankfully, pretty steadily since. And this is the first time I've taken a break since I was 20.
But you are working around the clock
Right. It's true.
on, set production or
Yeah.
reproduction or whatever it is.
Yeah, it's funny. I got a lot of validation from my work, and I love it. I have such a passion for it, but I also felt a sense of accomplishment that I was lucky enough to work consistently. And so I've had to tackle that side of me that thinks that sitting on the couch cooking a baby is not as valuable, or I'm not working hard enough by doing that. And you said something to me very early on, which was, you're working harder in your sleep than probably every man on the planet,
True. Yeah.
which really helped me.
Well,
But-
so I attend birth and I watch you guys do this, and it's just mind blowing every single time, no matter how they come out.
yeah,
It's just mind blowing. I still cry pretty much at every birth.
You do?
I'm usually asking for an epidural. I'm like, over here.
the emotions are too much.
It's overwhelming.
Give me the
for
pain
me.
meds.
It's amazing
Yeah.
how you do it, how your body is able to grow a human being inside you and bring that human being into the world through your body and feed the human being with your body. It's just incredible.
Really, it is when you think about it. So it's been nice to take some time off and focus on this little guy and just, getting good sleep and nutrition and resting and nesting and doing all those things that are important.
Are you exercising? What else are you doing to stay healthy?
Yes, I have been. So not so much the first trimester. I was terribly sick. In fact, I was puking on the way to my honeymoon on the plane, my whole honeymoon, and then back home. We went to Greece. My poor husband had planned this beautiful honeymoon for us. And
Wow, so his first birthday, and then you're
I know, I'm really an asshole. aren't I?
together from the honeymoon.
No, he was, needless to say, he was thrilled and he was totally fine with it. So I didn't work out a lot because I felt so ill. And then the second trimester, thought I was a superhero. And, I had all my energy back. And I was 6 days a week. I was on the elliptical and I was doing a boot camp and a bar class. And I was like, this is great. I'm going to be one of those women on the spin bike at the day she gives birth. It's not really happening, actually. The last sort of week or two, I've started to really slow down. And I think I'm totally okay with it. I was just saying earlier before you got here, your advice to me was, just do opening and stuff in the last 10 weeks of pregnancy. And today I decided I was just going to do one last bar class because, I have class pass and I've got to use up those classes.
Yeah.
And I pretty much broke my pelvis.
Oh, wow.
No, I didn't. It was not good. And I think
we
that
could
was
always fix it.
That's true. That was a lesson like, you know what? I'm going to stick to walking. I'm going to do my yoga. I'm going to take the time to be peaceful. I don't need to be running a marathon at 40 weeks pregnant.
No.
I can sort of enjoy this time. And
Somebody's been there and done that.
Right. Someone's done it before me.
Yeah.
And I would lose. So
You don't like that.
I don't like that.
Well, sadly, we're out of time, but it's so easy and fun to talk to you,
Oh, thank you. Thank you for having me.
to be inspired by you.
Oh, thank you.
I hope you'll come back afterwards
I'd love to.
and share how the Labor Day goes.
We can meet him.
Yeah. Bring the little guy in.
Do you have any? Do you have actor friends who have kids?
Yes.
Are they giving you advice?
Yes, lots. And it's so helpful. What I love is watching women still have a career after they have children. Sometimes it's even better. And sometimes they don't want to go back to work and they take time off. But seeing the changes in people. Right now I haven't experienced true motherhood. So I don't know how I'm going to feel. But right now I'm desperate to get back to work and back to my passion and doing the things that I love.
And you see that you can.
I see that I can, and I see that also maybe I won't want to.
Yeah.
And that's a nice thing to see as well. So, but it's been very helpful to watch many, many others go before me and manage it all.
Well, thanks for being here, Juliet. Thanks for hosting with us again.
Absolutely.
It's always fun to have
So
you.
much fun.
Claire Holt, we're making a promise. We're going to come back and talk to you again after this baby gets
I'll
here.
be back.
But until then, I wish you lots of blessings and a lot of joy and excitement from this journey.
Thank you.
I'm always happy when nice people make little nice people.
Oh, thank
Makes
you.
me feel like the world's going to be okay.
I hope he turns into a little nice person.
little gentleman.
At home, thanks for listening to our podcast. If you have suggestions, send them to info@informedpregnancy.com.